What's happening, world? Name's Raheem Flowers. And honestly, I wanted to go and touch on something that was very vital in a time, a moment of crisis where things are really starting to transition. We're going to have Trump in office. There's going to be a lot of major changes. And since we're on the subject of Trump, and since me being a Chicago native, this is something that is very important to me. And I'm talking about the well being of being a young brother coming up in Chicago, a black man. And honestly, I look at it like this. The the white boy that got kidnapped, got abducted by some Niggros on Facebook Live, and one was a black broad and it was three black dudes. I'm sure they were a bunch of hyper masculine simps, and the broad looked like a damn gremlin. And but insults aside, this was what happens when you don't know how to channel your emotions. And for the longest, black people have always shown they have a low EQ or emotional intelligence. See, people in the world, society is quick, especially white people, but society at large is quick to talk about IQ, your intelligence quotient, or however you pronounce that. They're quick to talk about your IQ, but something that doesn't get addressed is EQ. Black people's emotional intelligence is at an all-time low. I mean, to me, it's getting to the point now where we as a people have grown to be anti-intellectual, nihilistic, sociopathic, antisocial, all that stuff. That's something that has been heavily ingrained in the community. A lot of it has to do with certain indoctrinations that white people have brought amongst us, and a lot of it has to do with the lifestyles that we decided to portray ourselves, i.e., black exploitation, and also deciding to just get a quick buck and sell out and think that we were going to be on top. And you wanted to, black people, they didn't even want to outsmart the system for the sake of the betterment of black people, but more of just their own selfish motives. I'm talking about the archetype of Negroes who got in those positions. The Michael Jordans of the world. The Charles Barkleys of the world. Hell, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. My views have honestly changed. I mean, I don't know where to stand because I'm not going to stand next to these fake ass Afrocentric pro-black, pseudo-neo-pro-black Negroes, and I'm not going to sit next to these Sambo ass niggas who want to deflect and trivialize from the situation at hand. We have to be more critical and objective. I don't like when black folks try to use racism and slavery as the end-all be-all of all problems, and white supremacy as the end-all be-all of all problems. But I also don't like when bigotry and racism is in your face, but sometimes it could be more difficult because of all this encrypted, microaggressive action that transpires in this day and age. A lot of it has to do with the fact that white liberals are roaming around and telling black people what they want to hear, and they try to overcompensate by giving black people things that they don't need, but rather things that they want, such as welfare and EBT cards. I want to get back to the white boy that got kidnapped for a quick second. When you think about link cards and EBT cards, you can't buy fruits and vegetables. You only can buy certain things like chips, pop, processed food. Let that shit sink in. And you know that there's a lot of people in the inner cities who happen to be black. Now, yes, we can say white people use it clearly because there are more white people in America. So if you look at it from a numeral standpoint, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But when we think about the people who partake in it, and unfortunately, it has become part of the dynamic slash culture of black people. this is what it is. And this is why so many black women and black men deal with all these health related problems. You would think it's cops shooting black people. You would think it's this master white hand of white supremacy that's directly doing it. And I mean, I guess in a sense it is, but that's because they got black people hooked on it. You have an archetype of individuals who try to screw black people over and try to use them as their own political whores. That's what it is. And that's what it's going to continue to be until we say otherwise. We don't need these conscious simp ass Negroes talking about how the black woman is God and constantly calling women queens that you don't even know, and you don't even know what type of capabilities or lack of that they possess. What you need to do, what we need to do as black men, is build some infrastructure, build some solid foundation, and just do what we can for our kin instead of just doing this ego stroking bullshit. And as for the white boy, that's just a clear testament that black people still have shown how they channel their emotions. They have a low EQ, emotional intelligence. Something one of my Iranian neighbors, his name was Arash, told me about. Shout out to him for even giving me that, introducing me to that term. But point is, black people have, it's not even the fact that black people are too emotional per se that's the issue. Black people don't know how to utilize and channel their emotion. They take it out on things they shouldn't even take it out on. They take it out on constructive criticism. Black people, we've taken it out on people who haven't not even done any harm to us. We take it out on people who actually want to be a part of our life in a positive sense. I mean, this is how you know that dysfunction is something that has become a part of black people. It's like the 7 deadly sins have just been infused in the so-called black community. And the only ones who can do it right now is my generation. Because the baby boomers and the Generation X ain't going to do shit. They're the ones who's created this mess, these vile nigga archetypes. Them, along with this white daddy ass government. See, I can't feel bad for white people, especially the ones who spoil out the racist fuck shit. Because let me tell you why. You want to say that we as black people are monkeys and apes, even though all of mankind comes from the ape family and we have similar DNA for what it is. But point is, if we even want to go by that logic, monkeys have a tendency to imitate, right? Monkey see, monkey do, right? So if black people have been indoctrinated and been a part of slavery, and white people were at the forefront, because yes, we can argue that the Jews were the ones who were funding slavery and the ones who gave up the ships, and we could even say that it was actually Jews who helped fund Hitler for his own for the own cause of a genocidal act towards the lower class Jewish people. I mean, that's just how it goes. White people got to understand this. Even though not all white people are going to be directly and positively affected by this nepotism going on, as a collective, it does benefit you all. I mean, let me ask this question. In this nation, if race doesn't matter, why is it that when you fill out a job application, they always ask you for your ethnicity? If race doesn't matter, if they don't look at that as a factor, I have never gotten an answer out of that question to this day, and I've been wondering that for years. In addition to that, While there's a lot of white people on social media making jokes like Buku Haram, and then you got black people out here calling white people Neanderthals and snow monkeys and Yakubs and white devil and suspected white supremacists. And then you got people who are mixed breeds who sit on the sideline and who want to identify themselves as black but don't want to actually be at the forefront and only want to be half-hearted, just like the amount of half black they got in them. I mean, if we keep going through this dynamic and keep repeating the cycle, we're going to just go through a circle of madness. And if that's the circle of life, ain't nothing going to change. Because that's what people seem to define what society is to them, or at least Western. That's what I've noticed. And one thing I want to say is, it's funny how black people have always misdirect their energy. We have never been able to channel our emotions. We have people, see, white people, you're quick to say how black people have low IQ, but something that nobody wants to talk about is having a lack of EQ, or emotional intelligence. You see, I learned that from a neighbor of mine who was from Iran. He was Iranian. And since we're on the subject of that, as a matter of fact, I also want to talk about this. Okay, so there was this Arab guy who had his own corner store. And, you know, he was making snarky remarks towards the black women, and he was just thinking about his belly dancing, Arabian Night, Muslimah, while he was also saying how the booty twerking black queens ain't shit in comparison, and saying how he can't wait to get out of America. But the thing that bothered me so much wasn't even his own stupid ass, bigoted, racist remarks. That's not even what bothered me the most. What bothered me the most is how friendly and how carefree and apathetic these black women were towards the insults and themselves. But then it's funny how you have the nerve to say that other black people who want to state these things and want to speak about black people in a harshly critical manner somehow have self-hate. But you don't have self-hate when somebody's disparaging you in front of your face. And that's a prime example of what I mean by black people have tend to show this energy, this emotion that they don't know how to channel, and they always misdirect it. They take it out on a white boy who happens to be a Trump supporter, or he may or may not be a Trump supporter, and even if he was, that does not justify being and kidnapping him. And then, to make matters even more difficult, this kid is apparently retarded, mentally challenged, whatever you want to call it. So, did black people think that they were going to win a war? Because to me, this looks just as asinine as that broad in Wisconsin last year who said, "We need our weave. We need our stores. Say, you can leave all that bullshit to the white suburbs," and all that stuff. Black people have yet to learn how to choose their battles. Black people have yet learn how to take control of their emotions and drop the ego by saying we the kings and queens and gods. But each time you've always shown these erroneous actions, and you already show, not only have you shown your imperfection, you refuse to acknowledge it. This is why white people, this is why the Chinaman, this is why these Arabs, this is why these Jews can do these things to y'all. This is why they can display these microaggressive actions, and even if you do catch them in it, it's already too late by the time you even catch them in the fuck shit, because black people, we have done so much fuck shit that it's like anything else that another person does, it can easily be overlooked, and they can use whatever chaos that we've committed amongst ourselves and we propagate and publicize against ourselves. They can use that at their dispense. Now tell me if I'm lying or not. Yep. So if you want to be a ghetto gagger, black women, and but at simultaneously you looking for black men to protect you, that's not gonna work. You can't say that these black men are killing us, and just like on the Breakfast Club, there were some two broads saying how black men are the most um second most dangerous thing, fatality to a black woman. That's, see, that right there, that just showed, that's what I'm talking about by publicizing slash propagating a bunch of negativity, and then you're just like old simp ass Watkins said, you're validating the extermination of black people. When you said that shit about Tyler the Creator, when he made that commercial on Sprite and the Goat, well, don't you think that those black women on the Breakfast Club did the same thing? But you're not going to say that because Boyce Watkins, he believes that it was black men and their ego that was fucking over the black community more than anything. And I'm not even gonna say there isn't truth to that because there's a lot of black men out there who wanna just point the finger and make it seem like black women are the end all be all of the destruction in the black community. And that's the thing. That's why, as much as I do agree with a lot of what Tommy says, I don't agree with what he does. It's not about how he says things. It's the overall outcome, and it's how he reacts to his own situations. Like, you cannot say these things about black women, brother, but then in another instance you find yourself in these situations and you wonder why black women are the way they are. I mean, see, Tommy Sotomayor, Tommy will say how black women because of who they choose to procreate with, which is not untrue. But it's up to black men to build a solid foundation. I mean, the reason why they're picking Jaquan and Pookie and Ray Ray and Nana is because we, as black men, for what it is, have become, I don't even like saying this, but have become like beta males, so to speak. Black men have not taken charge. And I'm not even just talking I'm talking about mentally, I'm talking about economically. It's time for us to make the redefine, because it's not like all black people grow up in single parent households. It's not like you don't have Caribbeans and Africans and you don't even have black Americans. I mean, black people have to get to a point where you gotta say, you know what? Look at what we got. We got corner stores. We got liquors and corner stores. We got chicken shacks. We got all these weave stores, but we don't have no black men doing it. We don't got no black men out here in the front lines building no infrastructure. We just got niggas out here who want to sit here and say how black women ain't shit and how black women are just traitors to the black community, but not even remembering that women as a whole will go to the highest bidder. You have to understand, we're walking on a monopoly board, and black women know that black men are at the bottom of the totem pole, and they're even lower than black men. So I don't even want to see, black women have to understand, like, the attitude is only going to get them so far. That's why nobody's marrying black women like that in this day and age, even though they'll try to be more docile with white men. But then why would a white man waste his time to invest in you sexually and emotionally, because he'll just see you as their mistress, just like he did in the slave days. So I understand where brothers like Tommy's coming from, even when Brother Kel comes from a place like that. But what the difference between him and Tommy is, Brother Kel will tend to put things more into perspective. That's the fundamental difference. It's easy to talk about the product of the effect, i.e., black women and how fucked up black women have become. But it's harder to say, you know what? If I do my own thing and I do things for my kin, they will follow. Guys like Tommy knows that shit. So me saying that's kind of a moot point. I do understand that, but this goes beyond just him. This goes towards everybody who goes around complaining. I don't care if it's Angry Man, O'Shea, Minister Jap. I don't care if it's any of you Niggros, Sarge, whoever, and not even so much as Sarge, to be honest. Even though that's where me and him actually come eye to eye. I've said a lot of critical things about Sarge, but that's where he was right on the money. So, as soon as we realize that our women will go for the highest bidder, and not just go for the highest bidder economically and financially, but there's a level of confidence that you exude, because women are attracted to power. They magnetize towards that. You think me being light skinned and having these dark brown eyes and just looking all eccentric, you think that shit, the aesthetics of a man would be enough just to get a woman? Fuck no. I have to also exude a certain level of confidence. I have to also build a level of foundation, which is where I'm hopefully going to reach us very soon. But yeah. I'm going to make sure that I do my part. And that's all we can do. Things start to accumulate. When one black man does something, another should do something. So if Boyce Watkins was trying to say something about ego and black men working with each other, I would agree with Boyce Watkins if he didn't have such a simple approach. But if black men started to work with each other and remove the ego, instead of trying to talk like Umar's dumbass talking about, I'm the prince of Pan-Africanism, I'm going to say who's the head of the conscious community. Man, fuck the conscious community. And fuck niggas who want to talk about being on top and being the man. Like, these Niggros sound like whack rappers to me. These dudes who are old enough to be my father. Fuck that shit. So, that's what I gotta say with Niggros on top of that. And white people, just keep in mind, I'm hearing about the things that's transpiring in Europe. I've heard Pat Condell. I love listening to Pat Condell, but see, what Pat Condell says is a reflection and the frustration of what goes on and the karmic reaction of what goes on when I'm hearing all these Islamic civilians coming in and raping your women and trying to put the crescent moon flag on Europe, whether it be Germany, whether it be the UK, whether it be Ireland, whether it be Sweden or Norway, whether it be Denmark, wherever. You're going to get yours, just like how black folks got theirs. See, that's what people suffer from, a confirmation bias and selective morality. Said it before, and I'll say it again. Anytime that there is a negative stigma or trait attached to an entity / group of people, it's always, oh, those aren't the real pro-blacks. Oh, those aren't the real feminists. Oh, those aren't radical Islam. Oh, somehow, oh, those aren't real Christians. Oh, those are just some gay people. You know what that shows me? That shows me how weak you are. That shows me, if we want to go by the logic of beta and alpha male, that shows how many people are beta males and not alpha. You don't take charge. Because if you took charge, a lot of things would be in a better situation than it is right now. I mean, look at it like this. If supposedly there was over a million Muslims who tried to fight against ISIS, and you don't mean to tell me not one of them could have posted a video? As much as people post things on Media Takeout and World Star Hip Hop and YouTube and these vines, you mean to tell me out of those million people there wasn't dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people? This is what shows me how much false pretense people have, this pious bullshit. And I think I'm gonna end the video off just like that. Peace out. I'm out.